You know how German airports are basically temples of efficiency, where everything runs on precision timing, rules are gospel, and casual conversations don't exist. Well, last month I watched an American businessman arrive at Frankfurt wearing a Harvard Business School hoodie, and within 40 seconds, he'd already demanded to speak with someone about why the passport control officer hadn't complimented his global entry status. The officer just stared at him with those incredibly neutral German eyes and said, "Sir, this is Europe. Your American fast-track program has zero relevance here." The guy looked genuinely confused, like he'd just discovered gravity works differently overseas. He actually pulled out his phone to Google whether global entry was legally enforceable internationally under trade agreements. Spoiler alert, it absolutely is not, and he missed his connecting flight to Prague while researching imaginary treaties in the arrivals hall. At Munich airport last summer, this woman from Arizona got absolutely furious because the security line required her to remove her laptop from her bag. She kept insisting that TSA precheck meant she was pre-approved globally for expedited screening under international aviation law. When the German security officer politely explained that TSA precheck only exists in America, she literally said, "That's impossible, we invented airport security after 9/11, so obviously our system is the worldwide standard." She then attempted to show her TSA precheck approval email as if it were some kind of universal diplomatic credential. The security officer, maintaining perfect German composure, responded, "Madam, Germany has had airport security since before your TSA existed. Please remove the laptop." She's probably still writing complaint emails to the Lufthansa CEO about discriminatory screening practices against premium American travelers. This college kid at Berlin-Brandenburg tried paying his baggage overage fee with Venmo. Not as a joke, he was dead serious, genuinely confused why the Lufthansa counter agent couldn't accept his Venmo transfer right there at the desk. A retired guy at Dusseldorf got legitimately angry that the airport announcements weren't primarily in English for international travelers. He actually told the information desk that German airports should follow the global standard by making English the default language. In Germany, at a German airport. So yeah, German airports definitely bring out some truly spectacular American confidence. Let me tell you what I've witnessed working these terminals. I work in ground operations at Frankfurt Airport, and I'll never forget this guy from Texas who got absolutely enraged about our bottle deposit system at the airport cafe. He'd bought a water bottle for €3, then came storming back 15 minutes later demanding to know why he was charged extra for the bottle itself. Our cashier explained the fan system. You pay a deposit, return the bottle, get 25 cents back. Simple recycling incentive that's existed in Germany for decades. This man's face turned red. He slammed his hand on the counter and declared, "This is a scam specifically targeting Americans who don't know better. I'm reporting this to the American embassy as a tourist exploitation scheme." He pulled up the embassy website on his phone right there, genuinely trying to file a formal complaint about Germany's universal recycling deposit system. My colleague, bless her infinite German patience, said, "Sir, even German children understand this system. The bottle costs 50 cents. Your water costs $2.50. Mathematics is international." He refused to accept this explanation, insisting that hidden fees were illegal under international consumer protection standards he'd learned about at a timeshare presentation. He left that bottle on the counter like it was contaminated, walked away 25 cents poorer, and probably tells people back home that German airports run deposit scams on unsuspecting Americans. The bottle sat there for 2 hours before someone else returned it and got his quarter. Last winter, this American family arrived at Munich after an overnight flight from Chicago, and the father completely lost his mind over our bathroom situation. Now, Munich Airport has beautiful, immaculately clean facilities, but many require 50 cents or €1 to enter. Standard across German transportation hubs. This man stood outside the restroom entrance like he'd encountered a human rights violation, loudly announcing to everyone nearby that charging money to use a toilet is illegal under international travel regulations established after World War II. His wife looked mortified. His teenage daughter was literally hiding behind a pillar. But this man was committed to his cause. He flagged down an airport police officer and demanded they do something about this extortion. The officer, stone-faced, replied in perfect English, "Sir, if you need the toilet, you pay 50 cents. If you prefer, there are free toilets outside the airport. You can exit, use them, and go back through security. Your choice." The man sputtered something about dignity and NATO alliances, then finally paid the 50 cents while muttering about how he was definitely writing his congressman about this international incident. His daughter whispered to her mom, "Can we just leave him here?" Honestly, we were all thinking it. Then there was this consultant from Boston who had an absolute meltdown over our security liquid rules. She had a full-size luxury face cream in her carry-on, easily 200 milliliters, way over the limit. When security flagged it, she pulled out her phone and showed them her TSA precheck status, explaining that she had pre-verified liquids clearance from her last 5 domestic flights. The German officer stared at the phone screen with remarkable neutrality and said, "Madam, we are not TSA. We are German Federal Police. The liquid is too large." She actually argued that because the cream cost €80, it should be exempt from standard cosmetic restrictions because luxury products have different chemical compositions that are obviously less dangerous. She'd somehow convinced herself that expensive skincare couldn't possibly be a security risk because premium brands use pharmaceutical-grade ingredients. The officer remained unmoved. She then demanded to speak with whoever's in charge of European security policy, because this was clearly discriminatory against American beauty standards. My favorite part was when she suggested they just test it right here to prove it's safe, as if airport security runs a mobile cosmetics laboratory. They confiscated the cream. She filed 3 separate complaints with Lufthansa, the airport authority, and somehow the German Tourism Board, claiming Germany was hostile to American women's self-care routines. That €80 face cream is probably still sitting in a confiscation bin somewhere, next to 10,000 other liquids that people absolutely knew were too big but brought anyway. My colleague in ground services told me about this businessman from California who had a complete breakdown over baggage weight at the Lufthansa counter. His suitcase was 28 kilograms, well over the 23-kilogram limit for economy. When the agent told him he'd need to pay an overage fee, he insisted they re-weigh it in pounds because it would be under the limit in American measurements. The agent, maintaining professional composure, explained that kilograms are the global standard for aviation, and his bag would still be overweight regardless of which unit they used. This man then pulled out his phone calculator and started doing his own conversion, apparently convinced the agent was lying about math. He triumphantly announced that 28 kilograms was only about 60 pounds, which is totally normal for a suitcase. The agent replied, "Sir, the limit is 50 pounds, which is 23 kilograms. Your bag exceeds both numbers." He stared at his calculator like it had personally betrayed him, then accused Lufthansa of changing weight limits based on passenger nationality to extract extra fees from Americans. He demanded they bring out a pound-based scale to verify the European one wasn't rigged. They eventually had to call a supervisor, who brought out a chart showing the exact conversion rates, the published baggage limits in both kilograms and pounds, and about 15 minutes of extremely patient explanation. The guy paid the overage fee while loudly declaring he was switching to Delta, an airline that respects American measurements. Delta, of course, also uses kilograms for international flights. He'll figure that out eventually. At Berlin-Brandenburg last month, I witnessed a woman from Florida have an existential crisis over the 24-hour clock format on the departure board. Her flight was listed as departing at 19:30, and she stood there for a solid 5 minutes insisting the board was broken or displaying military time incorrectly. When a helpful German passenger explained that 19:30 simply means 7:30 p.m., she responded, "But why would they use military time at a civilian airport? That doesn't make any sense. This is deliberately confusing for tourists." The German passenger, confused by her confusion, said, "This is how we write time in Europe. It's normal." She shook her head slowly and replied, "No, normal time is 12-hour format. This is specialized military notation. I learned about it watching a documentary on Navy SEALs." She then approached the information desk to ask why the airport was using combat operation time displays instead of regular clocks for normal people. The desk agent explained, with admirable patience, that 24-hour time is standard across Europe, Asia, and most of the world. She looked genuinely shocked, like she'd discovered a global conspiracy. She asked, "So the whole world except America uses the wrong time format?" The agent just replied, "Or perhaps America is the exception, not the rule." She wandered off muttering about how she'd never understand why countries make things unnecessarily complicated just to be different from the American way. This tech startup guy at Hamburg Airport completely lost it over the currency exchange rates posted at the terminal. He'd looked up the exchange rate on his phone, let's say it was €1 to $1.10, and was furious that the exchange counter was offering €1 to $1.15. He started lecturing the exchange clerk about price manipulation and illegal markups that violate international finance regulations. The clerk calmly explained that exchange services charge a fee for the convenience, which is why the rate differs from the raw market rate. This man refused to accept this basic fact of currency exchange. He insisted that the posted rate on his phone was the legally mandated international rate that all exchanges must honor by law. He claimed he'd studied economics at UCLA and knew that varying the exchange rate was basically fraud. The clerk, tired of this conversation, said, "Sir, do you want euros or not?" He reluctantly exchanged $200 while mumbling about reporting this to international banking authorities, and how this was probably why Europe's economy struggles. That man walked away genuinely believing he'd uncovered a criminal enterprise at Hamburg Airport, when really he'd just encountered the extremely normal concept of currency exchange fees that exist literally everywhere on planet Earth. Look, the most entertaining category of German airport confusion is Americans who cannot comprehend that their domestic airline status means absolutely nothing here. I've seen platinum members, diamond elites, executive club holders, all thoroughly convinced their American frequent flyer status grants them special powers in European airports. Last spring at Frankfurt, this United Airlines million-miler approached the Lufthansa business class check-in counter, showed his United status card, and genuinely expected priority treatment. When the agent directed him to the economy line because he'd booked an economy ticket on Lufthansa, he launched into this speech about Star Alliance partnership agreements and how his million-mile status should be universally recognized across all member airlines with equivalent privileges. The agent listened politely, then said, "Sir, you have an economy ticket. Your status is with United Airlines, not Lufthansa. Please proceed to the economy counter." This man looked absolutely betrayed. He started citing specific Star Alliance policy numbers he'd apparently memorized, insisting that partner airlines were contractually obligated to provide reciprocal elite benefits. The agent, unmoved, repeated, "You purchased economy. You check in at economy." He eventually stomped over to the regular line while loudly complaining about false advertising in airline alliances and threatening to escalate this to Star Alliance headquarters in Frankfurt. My friend who works that counter told me later that Star Alliance headquarters receives approximately 0 complaints about this because those partnership rules are clearly published, and this man simply hadn't read them. At Munich last fall, I watched an American Airlines Executive Platinum member have a complete meltdown because she couldn't access the Lufthansa Senator Lounge. She stood at the entrance holding her phone with her American status displayed, explaining to the lounge agent that Executive Platinum was the highest tier in American Airlines, and therefore she deserved entry. The agent checked her ticket. She was flying economy on Lufthansa, and politely explained that lounge access required either a business class ticket or Lufthansa elite status, not American Airlines status. This woman's face cycled through about 5 stages of grief. She insisted that premium airline status should be internationally transferable as a courtesy between professional carriers. The agent maintained perfect composure. "Madam, the lounge is for our business class passengers and our elite members. Your status is with a different airline." She actually asked to speak with whoever makes these discriminatory policies, because surely there was someone reasonable who could override these restrictive rules for established elite travelers. The agent simply repeated that the rules were clear and applied to everyone equally. She stormed off, threatening to never fly Lufthansa again, apparently not realizing that airlines truly do not care about losing customers who won't pay for the premium services they demand. She probably went home and wrote a 15-paragraph blog post about how European airlines don't respect American elite status, completely missing the point that elite status is airline-specific and always has been. The absolute peak of this phenomenon was a guy at Dusseldorf who had elite status with literally every American airline: Delta Diamond, United 1K, American Executive Platinum, and he traveled with printed cards for all of them like they were international credentials. He approached the Eurowings gate agent and fanned out these cards like he was showing a royal flush in poker, expecting immediate upgrades and priority boarding. The agent looked at the cards, looked at him, and said with perfect German directness, "Sir, those are American programs. This is Eurowings, a German airline. You have no status here." His mouth actually fell open. He sputtered, "But I'm elite with 3 major airlines. That has to count for something internationally." The agent replied, "It counts for benefits with those 3 airlines. Not with us." He stood there processing this information like his entire worldview was collapsing, then quietly got in the regular boarding line while clutching his stack of status cards. Sometimes the German commitment to rules regardless of circumstances is absolutely beautiful to witness. Working German airports has taught me that national confidence is a fascinating thing, especially when it encounters systems that simply don't care about your assumptions.